Well, good morning, everyone. Let's see, are we up and running here? Yes, we are. Okay. Okay, there we are. Okay, it didn't look like I couldn't see my counter, so it didn't look like my record had started. So anyhow, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the first day of April 2019. Well, so we have a day of new beginnings. It's also traditionally an April Fool's Day. There won't be any of that here, unfortunately, I don't think, at least not intentionally. So, anyhow, I hope everyone had a good weekend. We spent our time outside. It was warm, and we were able to do some cleanup in the garden. We're not even remotely finished or anything, but we got started at least. And I was able to get my raspberry canes, all the dead ones, all cut out, and it looks so much better in there than when it went to bed in the fall. And my winter garden is doing well. After the snow all melted, it revealed, spinach was still growing, and so was my kale. Also, I tend not to pull things out of the garden, so in case they want to come back, maybe just from what's there. So my Swiss chard is also coming back, which is kind of cool. And you can see the chamomile's coming back, the self-heal's coming back, the motherwort, the wormwood, all in the medicinal herb garden. That stuff's all coming back, and the chickweed's back, the cleavers are back. So it's kind of great out there right now. I'm really having a good time. We found what looks like the beginning of a really large nest in one of the hawthorn trees, and so we're going to kind of keep looking at that and taking pictures of its progress, because it looks like a nest for an extremely large bird. So we don't know what it is yet. It's likely a raven or maybe a magpie or something, one of the bigger birds, but it could be something else. We don't know. And so my husband pointed that out to me on Saturday, so we're gonna pay attention to that and just try to figure out what the heck's going in that. We've just never seen a large nest in the process of being built before, so it's kind of interesting. I have a small robin's nest up on my porch, and we got to see, her babies be born one year, and it's still there. I haven't taken it down or anything, and nobody seems interested in reusing it. I think it was used 2 years in a row, but after that it wasn't. But so it's kind of cool to watch that stuff happen. It's kind of like National Geographic, around the old homestead. So the other thing we did is we got to burn the big pasture. So it did a really nice back burn. So when it does that, it burns everything from the bottom up when you burn against the wind. It takes longer, but it doesn't flash burn. And so it doesn't just burn over the top. And when you do that, it tends to not smoke as badly, which is a plus. But we were able to do that yesterday. So irrigation starts in 2 weeks. So we need to get that kind of stuff done. Plus we have to get, we have to dress up the irrigation ditches and all of that. Mostly just one along the side, the longest one. But sometimes, over the course of the season and the season before, and then of course during the winter when the gopher activity and the mouse activity is at its zenith, then they tend to build things into those ditches, and so you have to go and clean them out and everything. So we do that every year. So we'll be doing that over the next 2 weeks before the water comes on. And so maybe like us, you all are doing the same, getting ready for spring and for planting and all of that, and gardening. Things like that happen a little later here. I don't typically plant beans until the first weekend of June, assuming that is somewhere around the 6th. Now, if June 1st was on the first weekend of June, I wouldn't. You really have to wait until the end of the first week in June to plant beans around here. Otherwise, they're likely going to get frosted. So we have to deal with frost for a while, and then periodically throughout, the summer, you'll have a night where, it'll do everything. You might have a day where it'll be, ground striking lightning, and then hail, and then, frost in the morning. It's just, gardening on the high desert is just not for the faint of heart. It's upsetting, and you spend a fortune just trying to preserve something. It's just, from the frost. We have frost blankets. I mean, it's insane. Anyway, let's get started and count 13, see what we have, our first card for today. My husband was just saying, he was looking in at we start our seeds in the house, and we've got peppers and tomatoes up, and he's going to have to take them down a little bit because they're starting to touch the lights. The tomatoes are. So he's like, oh, I have to do this today. So anyhow, well, if you haven't been here before, welcome. And if you have, welcome back. I so appreciate you all being here today. Just so you know, if you haven't been here before, when I draw a court card, I always draw another one. And because they really do need somebody to interact with. And right now, I just drew the Knight of Swords. Now, this is kind of relevant because I used to only draw one card in one rune when I first started this video series. And now I don't. I mean, I couldn't just do that. I mean, I couldn't. You get a court card, it's like, oh, well, crap. I gotta have more than just, oh, well, it could be the person on the card, or it could be the qualities thereof. Well, that's so what, so you need more. And so that's why I do 3 cards, although last week or week before I did 4 on one day. But anyhow, that was actually a really interesting reading. But anyhow, the Knight of Swords is a very passionate individual. Knights, or sometimes they're called princes in other decks, like in Thoth, they're called the Princess of Sword, or Prince of Swords. Sometimes deck authors will change, the titles a little bit to suit their own idea of what this is. But in any event, your knights or your princes they're older than the pages or the princess. They're out in the world, they're making their mark, they're going on their grail quest, they're out protecting people. But they're out there, they're very dynamic, they can be very protective, they can, and the Knight of Swords is very swift. He could be very judgmental if he's ill-dignified, but he's also someone that's going to take care of business and is going to cut through the crap of things. And because I look at directionality, I consider that on any of these cards, he's looking toward the past. He's going in the left-hand direction. So if he were looking the other way, then we would say he's looking toward the future. If he's looking directly at you, then he's in the present moment. But here, he's dealing with things. He's dealing with a circumstance that's happening. Something that's already existing. And maybe they're in battle, to try to defend the kingdom or something. But the swords reflects the air element, or our intellect. So typically swords is about communication. So there could be maybe some conversation that's going very quickly right now, that's very passionate, that you're having. Maybe you are trying to deal with something that maybe has been around for a little while, and you're trying to find a solution to it. And sometimes, if they'll dignify, they might jump in without thinking. But on the other hand, when you know what you need to do, it's like center, align, know, and act, right? My husband put 2 lemons in my lemon water this morning. I'm having trouble drinking it. I keep running into a lemon every time I want to drink something, so I might have to take one of them out here just so I can finish my lemon cleanse. He's so sweet to make those for me every morning. I do the herbal teas, and he does my lemon cleanse. And my cold drinks, he does those too. He keeps them coming. Because, you know, when you have a wife of a certain age, we need to be cool because we're often not. And I don't have my tarot symbol cheat sheet over here. I don't know where that went to. Probably over by my other chair. But I use that to fan myself. I've been looking for a fan, not an electric one, but you know, one you hold in your hand, you fan yourself, a nice lace fan or something for when I volcanically erupt. Anyhow, let's draw another card. I always take the 13th card. I was born on the 13th. Oh, well, the Queen of Pentacles. I was born on the 13th. I was born in 1957. That reduces to 13. I was ill for 13 years. I used to wake up at 3:13 every morning, 4 years. I don't know. 13 is just always figured prominently. So when I'll either take the 7th card or I'll take the 13th card. I view those two as master witch numbers. And although technically, you know, 13 is reduced to 4 or structure, even my cell phone number reduces to 31, which is just 13 backwards. Anyhow, the Queen of Pentacles, so another court card. Here she sits serenely on her throne. I think her throne is just stunning, though, if you look at the detail of it. I don't know if you can see that too well. But when you look at it with a magnifying glass, a lighted magnifying glass, it is just, the throne on this card is just beautiful. But you see the garland around her. She's almost like she's sitting in this little sanctuary or sacred space. But you can see the oak leaves around her. You can see almost all seasons represented, although, I mean, I'm making an assumption there about those mountains in the background. They could just be alabaster mountains. But she's the matriarch of the family. And of all the queens, she's the most settled. She's the most grounded. She's somebody that is about home and hearth and family. She's about fertility and abundance and taking care of the tribe. So it's almost as if the knight, if we move this and we put her as the first card today, it's almost like the knight is out defending the queen and what the queen stands for. I'd be concerned if it were the king, even the King of Pentacles, although the King of Pentacles is probably, I'm a little more comfortable with than the other kings. If you were pairing the Knight of Swords with that, you might be having a problem with, you know, the son and the dad, you know, communicating with one another. It could be something like that. But here you have, I'm going to take one of these lemons out. And then I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Anyway, I don't have a towel. Anyhow, I'll wipe it on my pants. Anyway, so I think here you either have something that, so far you could either have a dialogue between a mother and a son, maybe, or you have the son defending the mother, or if you're talking about the principles involved in the court cards, because that's really what you do. You either talk about the individuals and what they represent, or you talk about their qualities, you know? So here you have maybe a dialogue that's swift or intense, maybe, between an authority figure and a younger person. Or you have, but with the knight, since the knight is all about protection and defending and the Holy Grail and the, you know, all of that stuff, maybe he's actually doing something in defense of home and hearth, in defense of the tribe. Maybe there's some protection going on here. So it's not maybe you're having to defend somebody verbally, or defend the family verbally. But here you have swift action, whatever that is. But it may be something that's based on, either reason or lack thereof. So you've kind of got two possibilities here. It could be an interaction between the two people on the cards. But I keep getting this thing in my head of rising to the defense, rising to the defense. So it's almost like the Knight of Swords is rising to the defense of whatever the Queen of Pentacles is indicating here. So maybe we're going to work backwards here on this. Let's draw another card. Well, we have the High Priestess. So clearly we have issues of balance. When you're talking about swords, you're also talking about balance. It's the second card of the major arcana. So again, balance. You see both pillars, shadow side and of self and spirit is one way to interpret that. You see the pomegranates behind her. You see her crown, which is basically the triple goddess, symbolizing the triple goddess. She holds the Torah, wisdom, and her let's see, left foot. I need my magnifying glass. It's difficult to tell. It actually could be her right foot rests on a crescent moon. There's a cross that appears right on the front of her gown. This is about feminine mystery. This is about balance, emotions, intuition. You have the Fool, which comes into being, right? Undeveloped potential. And then you come to the Magician or the Magus card. And there you have the alchemical basis for life, okay? The alchemical basis for our every moment of our entire existence. And then comes next the High Priestess. And those two cards together, basically, she is now manifesting the mystery side of things in a sense. I wanted to look something up here, though. So we have the Fool, undeveloped potential. Then we have the Magus or Magician, which is about will and life force and manifestation of our reality. And then we come to the High Priestess, which is about secret knowledge and intuition and inspiration, depth, still remembering that while, and I guess this is the whole point of it, in the process of manifesting, we're also manifesting will, okay? And so the High Priestess actually comes in and says, wait a minute. It's not just the will that you need to be concerned with. You need to remember to manifest from the side of spirit and not get confused. Even though you're in a body right now, you're still the soul, you're still the higher self, you're still the aspect of the creator focused into form, and you need to go from that standpoint. And it creates that, I think that's really where the whole polarity begins within all of us. And then, of course, you come to the Empress after that, who is the Earth Mother and gives birth to creation. So those kinds of things have been resolved, and now we're giving birth to the world. But basically, when you see the High Priestess, it's saying, even though you're here in this physical realm and you're experiencing what you're doing, don't forget to allow the hidden knowledge and the inner wisdom that you possess to guide your journey. But what is the journey here? What is the Knight actually doing here? Are we trying to stand in our own power and defend our legacy and defend what we hold dear? Allowing our higher self to inform that? I know that, collectively things are in flux, particularly in our country. Could it be about this? that we need to stand up for our ideals, that we need to have that be reflective of a higher self-awareness, of unity consciousness, of the greater aspect of self that we all are part of. Do we want that to be our legacy, or do we want to be something that is only about one person or a group of a small group of people? Well, here I drew Gebo. Now, Gebo is the seventh rune of the Elder Futhark, and so right away, that's balanced energy exchange. So it aligns really well, of course, with the two here, doesn't it? But the balanced energy exchange, we can think about it in terms of other people, but in truth, the real balanced energy exchange has to be between who we are in truth and who we believe we are in form. There has to be a balanced energy exchange there. I think that you would agree that when you have a government that's about authoritarianism and austerity and all of these things that take away from people, then you can see where it's not in balanced energy exchange with the populace. It's not about creating a level playing field. Sometimes I think when I see the Knight of Swords, it's about he's going into battle on behalf of the level playing field, of cutting through the crap of life and having what really matters come to the forefront. You see the High Priestess, which, she's sitting there serenely on her throne, but she's probably in a much better position than the Queen of Pentacles as far as that goes, because she is oblivious to everything but her alignment. Whereas the Queen has to think about other more mundane things. And so you risk, and maybe she's taking this time out to just go and sit away from everybody, to just reassess everything and to make sure that as she gazes lovingly at the pentacle, the large pentacle that she holds on her lap, maybe she's just trying to figure out, okay, have I taken care of everyone today? Are we making sure that what we're manifesting is the right thing for everyone? Because I don't feel that the Queen of Pentacles is so much in herself that she can't allow for the needs of other people. I don't think that most queens are. Although, at times we can, women can be about themselves. And so, and maybe deservedly so, after taking care of the family forever, maybe you get to the point where you're older and it's time to think about yourself and to stand in your own power and to maybe let go of the family as much and go out and strike out on your own. A lot of women at my age begin reinventing themselves. They're not ready when they retire to actually retire. Maybe they've had a career, or maybe they've raised kids, or maybe they've done both. Maybe they're ready to move on to something that just, is their own. And so this could be simply about that you're the Knight of Swords, where you're wanting to strike out on your own and stand in your own power and establish your own path. So it could be something like that. Either way, with the High Priestess present, we need to listen to our own inner voice, and we need to remain in balance no matter what we're doing, whether it's within or with others. To have that sense of balanced energy exchange with other people and also with the self, to sense that presence of the higher self within, and listen to that voice. Oh, there it is. There, I found it. See, I can do this now. It's up there. Anyway, I'm safe. I won't combust. It's like, oh yeah, that crazy tarot lady, she spontaneously combusted on YouTube today. All because she didn't have her symbol cheat sheet to fan the flames. Anyhow, well, I don't know, on a day of new beginnings, maybe we're ready to strike out on our own and do something different with our lives. Maybe we've just decided that it's just time. It's our time now. And again, if that's what you're doing, uh, find a way to stay in balance, you know. And if you have to give people time to get used to this, because let's face it, women don't realize when they stop doing the things they normally do for their family and they're off doing something else, adjustments have to be made. In the same way that when daddy stops doing, maybe he gets another job and he's working all hours, you know, or something, and somehow now then the rest of the family has to take care of the stuff that he used to do because he's not there anymore to do them, you know, things still have to get done. And so maybe, you know, um, if you're beginning something like that, or you decide today, you know what, today's the day, just allow for the balanced energy exchange with others, allow for them to have that process. If there's people in your life that have sort of depended on you to do one thing or another, allow for their time of some change to happen. They're going to have to get used to it, to maybe you not being as present as you once were. um, it's hard, you know, especially when kids transition, they grow up, they move away, they start lives of their own. Maybe they don't know how to interact with mom and dad anymore. Maybe they have parents who just want to meddle all the time, or maybe they're like us and we don't meddle at all. But the point is that sometimes it's hard for kids to learn how to relate in a balanced way with their parents because now the relationship has changed. They're adults. And so you can't, as parents, go and parent them, you know. You can't go and insert yourself in their lives. You just can't. It's not fair. So you don't ever want to do that. Um, but at some point, you know, you have to kind of figure all of that out. Uh, and if you're just in the beginning stages of that, you know, where your kids are just starting to move away or whatever, maybe you're going to have to change that whole way of balance, you know, and how you interact with one another, respecting each other's choices now. You're not interacting with mom in the same way because she's no longer in the same role in your life, and and mom can't interact with the kids anymore that way because they're adults now. And the same with dad can't, you know, say, well, what are you guys doing, you know, or you can't do that, you know. So maybe there's maybe this has to do with a change in how one relates, you know, in a and maybe as long as those changes happen in a balanced way that's respectful, uh, maybe that's something that's happening right now. But it just seems like there's a change here that's happening, and we need to either something has arisen that we need to stand in our own power about, we need to defend or something as the Knight of Swords, or maybe we're just in a transition phase into something new, given that this is the first. This is a one energy day. And how we achieve that balance is by listening to spirit within. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways we can go with this. You know, it really just depends on what's going on in someone's life, how these cards either apply or they don't. You know, I can come up with, you know, a couple different interpretations, you know, but there could be something about this that resonates with you, and maybe something entirely different is happening, but there's some principle about this that can apply to your life. So hopefully that's the case. Um, if not, just remember to listen to the inner voice within, because that's your higher self telling you something. Mine happens. I can tell you that I will go along, and you know, it's like this command comes. It's like higher self's compelling me to do something, or I'll just be thinking about something and the answer will pop into my head. It's just there, and it's so off the wall that you think it's there. It's easily dismissed. Okay, if that happens to you, pay attention, because you don't want to dismiss that, not ever. You may actually be tapping into the collective consciousness and that whole Akashic record of all the knowledge of all of existence, and grabbing the truth there and grabbing the answer, and you don't realize it. So that's higher self going, hey, here's the answer. You already know this. You already know it. So just remember, you know, that could be happening for you. And so whether you're either just taking stock as we have a new month here, maybe you're taking stock of what you have and any changes you want to make, you're considering making changes. Maybe you're having to stand in your own power about something, defending your own financial security or emotional security. I mean, Pentacles is more about financial security, but still, you know, balance is balance. And if our security is threatened, then we get emotional about that. You know, these cards are never purely one thing or the other. They always embody everything. They really do. You know, you see the yellow background in the Queen of Pentacles. Well, that's indicative of the fire element. That's will. So at the backdrop of this will, you know, pushing in on her, she goes to her sanctuary to try to come to a still point and think about things. So cool. Well, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything else. Well, if I had a few more hours, I probably could. Or if I drew more cards, I probably could. But in any event, yeah, just you know, if you're thinking about something new, uh, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to do that. Or if you're having to defend something, stand in your own power. Do it with a sense of balanced energy exchange, though, if you have to. Do it in a way that respects the other people involved, even if you think they're full of crap. You don't get anywhere by telling them that. At least not in the beginning. It's like, oh, okay, let's have a conversation. I'll open it with "you're full of crap." Is anyone gonna listen? No. So maybe this is just a day where we're fighting for our own personal security in some way, somehow. So anyhow, well, I have to do I did not do the lunar transits last night. I was exhausted from the field burning and all the other stuff I did, so I didn't do that. I just sort of, you know, died in my chair over there. And but in any event, I have to do today. It's time again for monthly tarot. So I'll do a tarot reading for the month. I also will do the geomancy reading for the month. So I'll probably do those two things instead of the lunar transits, although I might be able to get to it as well. It's supposed to rain today, so I have more time to write. So I guess I'll probably try to do all three. But if not, at least the monthly tarot will be up and the geomancy will be up. Hopefully both today. If not, by tomorrow, both of them will be up. So in any event, check out the blog over. That's where I guess I should say that, shouldn't I? All of that is over at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. Check that out. It'll all be over there. There's also a nice series on the Queen, on the Queen in Tarot over there. So I post these videos over there in the side panel. So this is also over there when I post it in any event. So check that out. I'd love you to do that. Click subscribe here if you want. I'd really love you to do that, and I'd love you to come back. So in any event, I guess that takes care of everything I'm doing here and what's going to be up on the blog. Yeah, that's it. So, okay. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to one another. Be good to yourself. I'll start over. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be. Oh, man, nobody likes Mondays, I don't think. Most of all me. Anyhow, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.